Ahlan.
How are you? Ahlan wa sahlan. Nice to see you.
How's it going?
Welcome. Fantastic. Let's go into the dining room.
What an exciting project.
So Rabbi Shlomo, welcome. It's so nice to have you. You're also a chavrus of mine from many years ago, and we have a lot in common. We have, Baruch Hashem, we're part of the greatest community in the world. We're in Deal for the summer, although I'm in Deal all year round. I try to make it to this city every now and then, to your home, and to realize what you're doing in the Safra Synagogue and what you've done for Kiruv over the years is well known, but it's something that very, very proud of, and I'm sure you are as well. And it's tremendous kavod that you came and to give your time to this type of project. And I really feel that you also befit this Shabbat project in many different angles, because by you doing Kiruv for so many years in London, which I was there, whenever I was there for a singing engagement, I was able to really a little bit see what the power of also your Shabbat table, to bring people in, to be able to sing with people around the table. How do you feel in terms of bringing somebody to Yiddishkeit through the power of music is something that should be used more, and what is your experience in terms of people coming around the Shabbos table and singing and becoming more gravitated to Yiddishkeit?
You say the Shabbat table, and it's very, very powerful for me, those words, the Shabbat table. I moved from London to New York about 7 years ago, and I left, all my furniture stayed in London. I didn't bring anything with me. The only thing that came with me from London is that table. And it's not a pretty table. It's not a nice table. It's not fancy. It's not designer. It is a very, very, very long table. It opens up, but that wasn't why we brought it. We brought it with us because there were thousands of young people whose first experience with Shabbat was at that table, people who, as they were growing and started to keep Shabbat, this was one of the only places they could go. Their families didn't keep Shabbat. They would come and be with us. I remember one guy set the record. He came to us 7 Shabbats in a row, It's kind of like an Eved Ivri, and then you let him free, But he was drawn to that Shabbat table, and it was something I couldn't part with. So I kind of brought it with me. I always joke about it with the kids.
Shabbat table in the city, the one
that one you just ate at. That's from it's been with us for almost 20 years now. Wow. And what's crazy is that the Rabbeinu Bahya writes that there used to be these Chasidei Tzarfat, that when they would pass away, they would bury them in the table. And just think about the holiness of that, and of the Kedusha that's latent at that table. But that's the nature of it. But what makes it a Shabbat table and not a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? You have nice meals during the week also. What makes a Shabbat table so different and so holy and elevated is this zemiros Shabbat that you're singing at the table. And without it, it really is lacking that feeling, that warmth, that joy that makes it so special. In a Kiruv rabbi's arsenal, probably the most powerful thing that he has is to invite people for Shabbat. To the point that there's all these tshuvot written. What if the guy's going to drive on Shabbat? How do you know if you're allowed to, not allowed to? But the poskim dealt with those questions because they understood how important a piece in the trajectory of someone coming close to Judaism is around the Shabbat table. And if it's true about someone who grew up with no background, it's also true that part of what makes our children who they are is also, no doubt, that Shabbat table experience. It's just that it's more usual, it's more regular. They've had it their whole lives. But that element is something that is unbelievable. That this zemiros Shabbat, whether it's the slow ones, the fast ones, the simcha of the ones that have a beat, and as well the kisufim, the yearning for kedusha that's latent in whatever slow song you sing l'chvod Shabbat, is something that really kind of seasons the table with the flavor that it needs to be able to be so effective.
What do you feel about yourself as a person growing up, before London, before being Makarev, before your house, I spent Shabbats at your house, I spent Pesach, you bring in big Hazanim over there, I'm doing the Ashkenaz, he's doing the, you growing up, I'm writing this book about Shabbat, this art scroll, and everything that the memories that thank God your parents are living, they should live 120 and more. Amen. But after my parents passed away, the memories that I really gravitated to were not the ones so much that my father, the drushim on the table, I don't remember any of that. And I realized that the power of the legacy of us being parents and now grandparents is not so much the preaching of the pilpulim. Yes, of course, halachas at the table, it's nice. Dvar Torah, of course, is important. But the joy and the happiness of being a Yid was really taken from those moments around the table. You growing up, did you feel that, were you long at the table? Did you hit the couch right away? What do you feel the zemiros or pizmonim were like? You're a musical family, Shlomo.
Yeah, we are. There was never a meal that there was no singing. Never. I don't remember any, not one, that we were not singing. My mother would tell us, after having the first course, she'd be like, sing for your supper. Like, we would have to sing something. My father had a funny thing, drove us crazy. He said, pick your favorite pizmon. And he waited. I don't know exactly the amount of time. It was, if it was a shiur of toch kidei dibur or kidei achilat pras. I don't know exactly what the time was. But after that time passed, however long it was, he would say, I know Shlomo's favorite song. And then he would launch into the song that we all hated. And I don't think we hated it because we hated the song. I think we hated it because that was the default. If you didn't pick one, this was what it was. And it became, that was very funny in our family. And it was the hilarious is the irony of which song became the song that he punished us with was Shiru Shir Chedva, sing a song of happiness, right? Right, that was the song.
I have no idea what that song is.
Well, it's good because it would trigger all the Farhis. And that would be the song that he would pick, that he would, that we have to sing. But there was no such thing. And it was the zemirot, it was the pakashot, it was the songs that were Sephardic, that were Ashkenaz.
Would your father sit at the table for a long time?
Yes, he did not leave the table ever. My father sat at the table, and even if he fell asleep at the table with the sefer, he was still at the table. I remember when I got married, so I was by my in-laws for Shabbat, and I saw my father-in-law, he should live and be well for 120, sitting at the table with his chumash or his gemara open, sleeping. I was like, now I feel at home. But we would try and escape to the couch at some point, but our escape to the couch was, after 2 hours, a long time.
When you became a parent, and wherever you started off in London, I don't remember if you started there. You started after you got married?
I went to study in Israel.
I went to Israel.
7 years. About six and change. And then we moved to Israel, from there to London, from Israel to London. I was there for 13 years, and then I moved here about 70 years ago to be the rabbi of Safra. But all throughout, there's always been zemiros at the Shabbat table. And I've had to teach my kids also. That was interesting, because I grew up with the pizmonim and all the Ashkenaz songs as well.
Explain to the Ashkenaz listener what a pizmon is.
Not sure you could explain a pizmon. I think you have to experience it.
Experience it. Pizmonim, okay, this is Zemirot Shabbat, a short version of it. This actually I got from David Hillel, my friend, who got it from his uncle, the Kabbalist, Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, who I cherish. So I take it and I did a song, Elohe Oz, from here, because it's not in any of the other ones. Truth is, maybe I should put it in the art scroll one too.
We sang that song this Friday night at my Shabbat table.
This one?
Elohe
and you have the words?
Yeah.
Tehilati Oy Rafaini V'yehi Rafa V'ten marpe Lemachalati Levahalamu V'yeh Safer Levahalamu V'yeh Safer. I did this song with my son in his bar mitzvah. And we got Art Scroll to actually translate these words. It gives me a good memory to now, a reminder to really put in my book also, because it's a special song. I just felt certain kedusha. I think Rabbi Yaakov Hillel says that the Evan Ezra wrote these words. hundreds of years ago. They say, by the way, which I'm not sure, maybe Rabbi Farhi will, that when you hear something so beautiful, when you hear something that triggers within you a spark of really a holiness, it might have came, from the place that they sang actually those type of notes in the Beis HaMikdash. It's like there are certain songs, I don't know, that there is a song actually in the Ashkenaz Welt, one of my favorite songs. It goes, I'm sure you know, so I took that tune. I felt that tune, and Rabbi Diamond also agreed with me. When you hear that tune, Rabbi D actually recorded it in Yiddish. It just brings you to a beautiful place in your mind, where it's a pure place. It's the Bet HaMikdash of your brain, because you just close your eyes and you want to just be in a pure place. I put it into Menucha V'Simcha. Menucha v'simcha, oir la Yudim, b'y machmadim, shoimru v'zora, hey ma'meidim, zizha kabru. Anyway, that's not a pizmon. What is a pizmon?
So in the old days, if you used to go to a sebet is the equivalent of an Ashkenaz Kiddush.
Right.
Okay?
It's called sebet.
Sebet. And that's what they would sing. And every person knew every one of these songs by heart. Anna ya habibi, libbi yekavlach. And it's page by page. Melech Rachman Shemorna Ogana Leam. Right? All these songs. Makelotam Barechu Agadelcha. Hello, everyone. Atta elkam bi Rachum Shemecha Rachem Am.
That might not be in there. Maybe
The next one is my favorite. I sing with the kids all the time. Ech ze benoam banecha el nisa para.
It's not in there. I should.
That's got to be in there. That's it.
Because that's the only part I like about the song.
No. My favorite. The favorite part is afterwards when they go. Ya Haidel Venora Aboher Beshire Hay Beshire Zimra Ashilach Rahman Karev Zeman Amlo Alman Le'am Ne'eman. That's the closest Sephardim ever got to rap.
Do you feel that the youth today, with the pizmonim that we remembered growing up, and the elder statesmen were at the table, at the Sabbath, singing, and everybody, do you feel that a lot of it is lost today? And if you do, why is it that the youth are not gravitating to zemiros? What's the...
Look, I'll tell you the truth. There is a big challenge that we're facing in communicating that. I said, if you used to go to a Sebet, because not all Sebets have this anymore. Right. And it wasn't only the religious people, everybody in the community. Everybody knew that they were going to sing, Ya Yahid Ram Leolam. They knew that. And they were all involved. Mauzi, right? They all did it. Now it's not the case anymore. People don't know. And I think part of it is there's like a change in the music. Remember, these songs they're old, they're Arabic. Part of it is that the music is an older style of music. And it's like, if you go to the young Arabs are no longer listening to the old Arabic music from Kulthum. They're listening to the stuff that has more of a beat. So as an example, when you sang,
Arabic DJs now. I'm like, what?
When you sang Mul Eli Vegodlo, right, and you kind of refreshed it a little bit, and it's one of those songs that has like a good beat. So those songs are the ones that kind of stick around. Right. Habibi, Nagila. That's the ones
that I gravitated to that I put in the medley.
And they stuck around. But as an example, to me, the equivalent of that song, and we've got them all from I remember being struck when Mordechai ben David sang Eskiro. Eskiro, Eliki. Right? I was crying my eyes. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I was a kid. Right. But there's a dvekut in that song.
There's another song
that really just kind of, it just cuts right.
It cuts there.
And I didn't speak Yiddish, and I'll still remember his song, Di-di-da-da-da-da. Remember that's, we made up the words, me and Aaron Dweck.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That was
So,
the other song.
whatever ones it was.
It was
Right.
Then I wanted to get the words.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous.
Wow.
But as an example, if you were to port that feeling over to a Sephardic song, it's not Echzeh Benoam, it's not Habibi. Those are like, you're dancing.
So now you're getting into a different kav. You're touching on, I said it, I might have said it in the book or not. When I daven Yom Narayim in yeshiva, I found myself crying. Tears, really tears. Rosh Yeshiva, he was the composer of Tat. That guy, he's still around. Tremendous guy. He used to compose brand new songs. And it was the Ashkenaz way of bringing out the tears and the emotion of davening. And singing was the same thing. I gravitated to that more. That's why people, even at a Shabbat, the guy really, you reminded me, this guy really got upset at me many, many years ago. And he was like, why are you going Ashkenaz? What is it that the Sephardim, I told him it's not about that. I said, my heart and my emotion is stirred tremendously by that type of song. My father, alav shalom, sang everything around the table. We did everything. So I told him it's just a different channel. The Sfaradim have the happiness channel. You come in there, Yom Narayim, by the way, if you guys ever come in here, and you could, Chatanu lefanecha rachem. And if you tap in, yes, it's a joy. It's a joy. It's not tapping into the kav. So there's.
You know what's interesting? I'll agree with you
different ways,
for a large part of. But as an example, like this Lachana Orech specifically is a song that really plays on those heartstrings. Again, I can't sing like you, but like when we would sing this at my Shabbat table.
Very well like you. And you sing like you.
The song, like it would be, Lachana Orech Ya'el Halel V'lishmach et Tzuri Agadel. Right? It was like you're crying to Hashem.
Yeah,
and when you're just saying, and even the high parts were just like, it's like really like you. So there were certain songs like this. If you ever went to Rabbi Reuven Elbaz, Ora Chaim, Yamim Noraim, it rips you apart.
Because you hear thousands.
Not only, but the Chatanu Lefanecha, you're right, still the upbeat.
Right.
But as an example, when they're doing Et Sharei Ratzon, it's like Sichu Le'imi Kisisona Pana. Like, go tell my mother that the joy of her life has gone away. Haben Asher Noda, the 90 Shana.
That's the
Oked V'Hane'ekad. So the Syrian tune is Oked V'Hane'ekad V'Hamizbeach, right? But we have a tendency in the ADD generation to take these things and speed them up by like a 2x, like on WhatsApp.
Right.
And then they lose that neshama, that heart. So I always imagined that there's these two elements. There's the joy.
Why do we do it? Because we don't appreciate it.
I think in general, we don't have time for anything. And happiness and a beat is faster than touching an emotion, which is a deeper level, of dvekut. So that takes a little bit more time, When you're singing one of the old style kind of yearning songs, that's not as fast a medley. That's just the nature of it.
So you're saying it's just time and attention.
I think, in general, that's affecting all Jews, I think. So I think that's a huge part of it too, and I think that both of them are necessary. There's I feel that as well. Like if you didn't get one or the other, you really didn't give the full experience at the Shabbat table.
So that's why I do all types of music. Because somebody asked me, one day you're doing an Israeli EP, which just came out with, whatever songs, Kivinu, Le'olam Lo Nipared, and then you're on a Shabbos project. I told him, yeah, because first of all, there's many different types of backgrounds of Jews that want to listen to music, they want to gravitate, and they like different things. I said one thing about, and I say it in the book, about my father, alav shalom, as old school as he was, and my mother being born in Germany, totally different backgrounds. As much as old school as he was, he always took in the newer Shalom Aleichem, for instance, the newer Eshet Chayil. Yaakov, you don't want to sing that? Let's sing it. It's important for parents, and I realize it now. Back then, I was like, okay, it's normal. I realize it now. To be rigid in one way, and yet it just does. There are Sephardim eating herring in deal now. Okay, there is Ashkenazim buying tahina like it's part of their. My friend Yitzi Wallner was just at my Shabbos table, right here at this table. I gave him real tahina, not the tahini with the I and it's all water. I gave him the real stuff. The guy went nuts. So it's important to embrace the different, but in a way the key is, and I find it with music, to be inspirational with the message. Meaning, even if you're doing a beat, even if you're doing a fast beat, to give them a message they could take home with. Tadlikat ha'esh. It's beady, it's got that. Yeah, but what are we saying? What are we, to do it in a way that's, of course, batamt in a way, it can't cross a certain line, but also to give. And I feel the Shabbat table, if we're open to it, if we're open to different types of channels and being able to touch on different backgrounds and it can be a different experience.
Well, you know what? It's not only, I think, that there's all different kinds of Jews, but I think the question is a misunderstanding. Like, imagine asking him back, you're all over the place. You're eating in the morning, breakfast, and then lunch, and then dinner. Like, make up your mind. No, I need to eat 3 different times in a day. You know why your songs are everywhere and touching everything? Because Judaism touches everything. Judaism touches joy. Judaism touches sadness. Ra'ui l'kol adam liot metzar v'doeg. Right? You have to sit and mourn for the Beit HaMikdash. There's a day called Tisha B'Av. We have everything in the human experience, and the Torah in Yiddishkeit is supposed to touch and inform and color the way we interact with all of that. And there's nothing like a song that really brings that home. And I was talking about this in my shul a little while ago. The pasuk says at the end of the Torah, "Va'ata kitvu lachem et hashira azot." Right? You have to write down this song, and that's one of the mekorot that a person has the obligation to write a Torah, right? And I thought it's such an interesting thing. Like, it comes all the way at the end of the Torah. Fine, because you're going to tell me to write it when the Torah is almost finished. Fine. But why are you calling Torah by this name at the end of the Torah? And why are you calling it to me in the mitzvah of writing a Torah? And I think that's really the nekudah, that if you don't have a way, and if you can't figure out a way to sing every part of Judaism, then that's the part that will wither and die. If you can't turn this into something which is, as we said, Shirah doesn't only mean happy, it means connected to, right? That's why the Torah is a Shirah, because the nature of music is that it rises even higher than the words themselves, because it's without milim, without words. And I think also on a certain level, it represents the Torah in a time when there weren't words to be spoken. We know the Torah came before the world even existed. So in a world where there are no conversants, what is it? And that element that's really part of what Shirah is. It precedes everything. It describes and connects levavot of every kind of type. So, the famous statement that they say, attributed to Rav Shach, that when people find that their kids aren't what they would have hoped that they would be, they could blame it on the fact that they weren't Shabbat songs. And I think he means that as a mashal to everything. But if there's anything more obvious than the value of family, than the value of mitzvot, it's got to be the thing that's most bolet in the week, and that's I think at that Shabbat table.
It's interesting. You remind me that Lulav Rebbe told me, and on the night before October 7th happened, I was in his sukkah, and he told me, I was talking to him about the Avelis part of my life and this and that, and it was hard to deal with, and I find that it was hard to sing. It's hard to sing when you're not in the right state. You talk about connection, Rabbi Shlomo. You talk about connection, your heart has to be there to connect. Especially Jewish music is about heart, it's about neshama. It's about being in the right place to connect. And I was just sharing with him my personal sadness. And he was saying, the truth is, he was saying a little bit what you were saying, but that's why we gravitate to a sefer called Tehillim. Tehillim is from King David, who, by the way, came from Balak. There's a whole story, but the point is, Balak also connected on his level. He was such an anti-Semite that he was able to, from the depths of his heart, connect, and Hashem put in the Bria tefillah, no matter where it's coming from, then you could connect. But Shira, he said, David Amelech, the reason why we turn to David, always, when somebody's sick, chas v'shalom, when somebody needs a Yeshua, somebody needs Parnas, all Tehillim, because David Hamelech found a way to sing in every point of his life. Remember, you said Judaism touches the full gamut of somebody's life. Tisha B'Av is sad, but Purim is really, really happy, and you're all over the place on the pendulum. But the point is, do you find a song? Do you find a way to sing at every challenge? And David HaMelech, even when his son was going against him, it was the deepest, saddest time for him, and he was running. He still said mizmor, he still said a shir, and he was able to find a way from the depths to be able to. So you're right, but that's why in a concert, people come and they tell me, what do you find? They ask me a lot of times, what do you see? What's a successful concert? That the sound was great. Yeah, of course, I want the sound to be great, and I want the lighting to be, it's all great. It's all great, but really the depths within my heart tells me what success is. Success is when people walk out more connected. People walk out more, and each one in their own way. You're right. It could be a happy song that really. This guy came over to me the other day. There's a song there's a song that I even forgot that I even recorded, and he's telling me that this song makes him the happiest to be a Jew. And I would never connect that song with that message. Every day I get messages from different people, different ways, different. Why is that? Because we all want to feel connected. The depths of Really Neshama, we all want to connect. But how do we do it? Different types of songs, different. That's why I feel the Shabbos project that we're talking about now. And I feel that this project is going to bring a lot of different types of, we're using, by the way, the greatest arrangers that we both grew up to. Mona Rosenblum, Moshe Laufer, Suki Berry. It's funny, Suki Berry came, I brought him to America, to Donnie Gross's studio, and he's writing the arrangement for Proikyaso, and he's the original writer for the original one. He's like, okay, he said, you want me to do it a little different than the one? I said, no. Maybe a little tad of it, but it's great that I was able to bring the arrangers, Moshe Laufer, who did, or Mona Rosenblum, did the original whatever songs we're doing, and they're working on this project as well. And now we have, obviously, new technology, new sounds, and to deliver it to the next generation of Hashem.
One of the things that you just said, I was with you in this room when you were sitting. I remember the last time also, and I got to see you sitting low, and that's something which is really remarkable about you, but I think you model it for all other Jews also. I just want to share with you from my heart, there's two different songs in Tehillim. One is Shir LaMa'alot, a song LaMa'alot, of ascents, of going up, and one is Shir HaMa'alot. Shir LaMa'alot is when you're already up and you're going up. And Shir HaMa'alot is when the song itself is that which brings you up. And, I remember reading the most beautiful pshat about how Nebuchadnezzar was singing Shirah to Hashem, and the angels were all in a tizzy that this non-Jewish king is singing Shirah, and the angel comes, B'malach v'satro al piv. He smacked him in his mouth, he stopped singing. And the question is, what kind of thing is that? The guys say, because it's going to be a kitrug, it's going to make us look bad, we want to stop. The answer is no. What he was saying is, everything's going your way. Hazaku Baruch that you're singing. What happens after I give you a patch? David HaMelech, after everything he received, he was still va'ani tefilati. He still was just his tefillah, he was just his prayers, he was just his songs. And one of the interesting things, and I think Ashkenazim will find it interesting, is that the Sfaradi songs are much longer. Like the niggunim that we sing, the one-sentence songs that we sing, are more, kind of expanded. And then, look at the length of this, of Yaya Chidram, right? Look at that. 52, yeah. Right? Ashkenazim have one long one right? No, Kol Mekadesh Shvi, right? They call that the dirge. It's a long song, but for in Sephardi style, that's pretty. It's a par for the course. But I do think that there's something really, really special, and in being able to bring out each one of these, and I think different, exactly like you said. How many times as a rabbi, does someone come to you? You said that in the speech, it changed my life. You don't remember saying it. It's not one of your favorites. It's not something that's stuck out in your mind. But I think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed a specific set of notes that would speak to each neshama throughout history. And and that's why when Jews came to the Beit HaMikdash, it wasn't enough to have a korban and a kohen gadol and the bigadim and the mizbeach and all that kedusha. You had everything. And what did it still need? Shirat HaLevim. They still needed singing on top of that. And the answer is yes. And I think sometimes what would help people kind of connect is to recognize that everybody knows that you can't sit on a table. Shulchan domeh lemizbeach. Well, what was going on around the mizbeach? Singing. And when I'm sitting at that table, and my house is like a Beit HaMikdash to raise those kids, if we felt that it was a holy responsibility to be singing just like the Leviim were, songs that lift up, that raise up, again, happy, sad, Sephardi, Ashkenaz, Hasidish, it makes no difference. That is an integral part of this mitzvah.
No question. But I find that today is a much more open space. What I was trying to say with the herring, it's a joke, but when I was growing up, wasn't that accepted to, at the table, do everything?
Yeah.
It was like, people came
So
as guests.
Have cholent and
right.
chopped liver. And
I said the word cholent when I got mad, in front of a few like old school Sephardic. What? Stew, you mean? No, I said no, cholent. They got nervous. Hameen? They got nervous at me. They made face, and anything Ashkenaz was, I brought by mistake, my friends of mine had a talit, so I wore the black stripe one. I don't wear the black stripe, I always wear white. But I didn't have a talit, so the guy came over, he almost felt like I trampled on the flag and the tradition, and I'm burning the flag in the shul. Black? Shachor? This is what we're doing and now we don't get that nowadays because, so I feel the time is ripe, I'm saying. It's ripe for, I don't know, the open space of everybody is welcoming different sounds, and to do it in a way that's, of course, it's inspirational. I'm giving, by the way, all the Sephardic songs to Yisrael Lam. Yisrael Lam is an Ashkenaz guy, very Mesudadik guy, everything is, and he's like, whoa, these notes and this chord and this, and he's wondering, like, but he's saying it's also it's a breath of fresh air for him. He's not getting the regular traditional, song to arrange. And it's something, I don't know, I was telling him a story. This story always moved me to tears. The way it was written, the way it was a rabbi speaking at a Shabbaton at a Kiruv place. He was saying there was once a boy, who was a wild, ragged boy living in Israel.
Just
a ragged boy.
No, not that one.
Not that one. Maybe he meant that one. Maybe he meant him. And he's speaking and he's like, my family was religious and my brothers and sisters were all, perfect, and I wasn't. I just gravitated away from Yiddishkeit, got myself a motorcycle, leather jacket, and started to, be the guy from the 59th Street Gang from that same album. Remember that? That's the guy with the chains and everything, and he's saying, like, I was not feeling it. I was not feeling Shabbat. I was not feeling singing. I was just not feeling it. But inside my heart, just like anybody else, when they have parents that care for them, inside my heart, you feel a little bit of guilt. So from times, just interesting times I picked, I just would, show up with my motorcycle on Shabbat. And it was one Friday night when my father and mother had a lot of guests over. And I just showed up with my motorcycle. And I just pulled up, my jacket, my helmet, And I came right into the house. My father opened up the door and he hugged me and he smiled with me and he was emotional. He said, welcome. He brought me to the dining room table and he introduced every single person. He's saying my sibling just got engaged and they brought in the new family members. So there was double the amount of people. And he's pointing to me and he's saying, this is my son. I'm proud that he's here. And every single person, even the outsiders, a lot of parents would be embarrassed of the fact that they have such a son. He was so proud of me. He pointed to every single, you know what kind of son I have? And he would just point out my positive, whatever I had. I'm a great violinist, or I was a great basketball player or a soccer player in Israel, and he does this, and he cares for his friends, and this is and he pointed out such pride. And the other family were looking like, whoa, this kid, he looks different. He's not your run-of-the-mill kid. He came out on a motorcycle on Shabbos. And he's saying, this rabbi is speaking, and he's saying, as I walked out the door, he's saying, by the way, as I walked out the door, my father gave me such a hug and such a this, and he said, please, I want you to come again. This is your house. This is your place to be. And I will always welcome you with open arms to my house. Please, please stay and come again. And he says, I walked away from there on my motorcycle on Shabbos thinking, I have such great parents. They have such greatness within them. And the pride that they show in me. And he just became emotional. And he said, I'm telling you this because obviously I was that kid. And I became a rabbi to be makar of all of you only because my parents always, the Shabbos home, the Shabbos table was positive, no matter where I was in life. I was the furthest away, he said, from Yiddishkeit at that point. But the rachmanis and the beauty of my father, who was not embarrassed. This is my son. Every child is my child, and I will take whatever Hashem gives me and sing along with that song. And he says, the reason why I'm being able to be makar of so many people today is because I went through the journey. But my father always wanted to love me, to sing with me, and not to place the religion as a burden to preach to the kid. You gotta learn. You have to get up in the morning on Shabbos with me to come pray with me. You have to, no. Let it be. Let it come. It's not as always easy. I'm not saying it's easy. When I read the story, I still cry till today. It's not easy to do because you gotta get over your own perception of what you want your child to look like when they grow up. Let them go through the journey. Let them go through it and be there for them at every single point. When the son feels like he doesn't belong in Yiddishkeit, or the son feels like he doesn't belong in the family, are you going to be the one to embrace him and to just be able to sing with him no matter what the story is?
I remember we had one guy, he came to our house for Shabbat, and he sat through the Shabbat meal, and he was new. He hadn't learned, hadn't studied with us, He'd not been involved, he'd not really learned much, he'd not really seen much. He walked in and he had a Shabbat dinner with us, and, as you might imagine it was. I sing Kiddush every week. I try using different tunes for the Kiddush to kind of keep it, special. We sing the Hamotzi. We're doing the thing. I'm blessing all the kids around the Shabbat table. I have a thing that I do also. I would give berachot to all of my students that were not religious, who didn't have a father or mother, who were giving them a beracha. So I used to have in my mind, I would just see their faces and just do a beracha for all those kids that never had anyone to bless them. The reason why I started that was because a girl saw me blessing my kids, and she came to me with tears in her eyes. She says, I have no one to give me a beracha. No one ever gives me a blessing. So I said, of course I'll give you a beracha. She said, but what are you going to do next week when I'm not here? I said, I'll have you in mind. I'll give you a beracha next week. And from that, I started growing a list of these talmidim. Some of them now have their own families. married, Shomrei Torah Mitzvot. So anyway, I'm doing the whole thing. For me and you, it's a regular Shabbat dinner. End of the dinner, the guy ready to leave. Thank you. Everyone's thanking you for coming, for hosting them. And on the way out, he says, Rabbi, he goes, what do I need to do to get this? Like, tell me. Whatever I need to do, whatever I need to keep, whatever mitzvot, or, prayers I need to say, you tell me. I'll do it all. Like, just give me this. I need this. I said, what do you mean? He said, like I live in a world where husbands don't talk to their wives, everyone's on a phone. The kids are not respecting their parents. Everyone is sitting there. They come to you. You bless them. They kiss your hand. Like, how do I get this? This is the prize. And I told him, well, why don't we start learning? And I'll teach you the things that you have to do in order to have this. And this man now actually is a teacher in a Jewish school. The most beautiful neshama you could ever imagine. A wonderful, wonderful man. But that's what it was. And, I remember years later when he already was married and he had children that were themselves religious, connected, beautiful souls. I just remember I was singing with zemiros Shabbat and I just started crying. And my guest asked me, why are you crying? And I said, I had never read these words in the same way. And all of a sudden this man came into my mind. We say, Me'en olam haba yom Shabbat menucha. A Jew works their whole life for sachar, for reward. What are we doing it for? For olam haemet, for Gan Eden, for olam haba. This man looked at a Shabbat table and he saw something that was worth doing everything for. Me'en olam haba yom Shabbat menucha. And how many Shabbat menuchas do we go through and we don't realize that we're in olam haba?
It reminds me of a story. I just went to the cleaners a few blocks away. It was a very powerful story because it made a roshem on me. It's in the book. I just want to say it because it's random Friday. I go to the cleaners. As a matter of fact, nobody was at this cleaners. Nobody was there. Usually it's packed. I'm sitting myself. And this guy, Tony, is behind the counter. And I look at the picture of his family. His baby, his son, and his baby. I'm like, Tony, you have a beautiful family, Tony. It's so nice. I wanted to start a conversation with him, so beautiful, your family. He goes, the truth is, he says, he started to cry. He says, I don't see them as much as I want to. He said, it's amazing that you guys come here on a Friday and I see you for years. You guys get your shirts for Shabbat and you go and you sit around with your family and I said, yeah, we do it every week. He goes, once a year, maybe my son comes on Thanksgiving. Like you said, he's with his phone and he's crying. This guy, Tony, is crying. He says, I wish I had what you have. I wish I have this. Like you said, I want this. I wish I have that every week. I'm running, and I'm realizing, we sometimes, I walked out very emotional for a minute. He cried, I cried. I took my cleaners and I'm holding the cleaner. I said, thank you, Hashem, give me this inspiration from a goy who's crying by the fact that they have maybe one holiday that they don't even understand, and the son shows up begrudgingly and with his phone and doesn't want to connect with the family because he's so addicted. We're so addicted to everything that's around us without stopping. And Hashem made us stop and did us the biggest favor because Hashem knew. I was thanking Hashem, you knew that we would turn out just like that because it's humanistic to never stop and enjoy the creation around us. Like you said, it's such a fast-paced world with so many whirlwinds around us. And thank you, Hashem, for giving us the opportunity for Shabbat that I grew up in a home. It's not, you're right, so many of them did not. It's emotional what you said before. It's some of these kids, Jewish kids, they don't have that education. They didn't grow up in a background of any religion, and they come to Shabbat and they just, it sparks of just such angelic connection to Olam Haba, to a world we don't understand, but we have that taste in this world. And I felt that sometimes we have to have these reminders from people who did not grow up like us. And just, I walk out of there, I'm like, Tony, you're making me cry. But it's amazing. This guy, by the way, you give him a talus and he does it for free. He has a spark of just, some sort of connection.
Only with black lines or white lines?
White, black, any talus, free. Because it's Kedusha. It's amazing.
So sometimes people ask, why is this the way it has to be? I find it really difficult in my house. Like, my kids don't want to be at the table. Now, instead of having a beautiful Shabbat was ruined by the Shabbat table because I had to tell them to come from the couch and sit here, and they want to go. May I be excused from the table? And they want to run away, and by keeping them there, I'm not giving them what I want them to get. So I let them go, but then they didn't get what I wanted them to get. So, it's very hard. And I think that there's a beautiful parallel to this in tefillah. Sometimes a person, I don't know if you ever use those books that have for Yamim Noraim, when you're reading on the Amidah, and it's like Baruch Ata Hashem, and it's telling you all the deepest meanings, all the kavanot, and and you're reading this, and you're like, okay, and an hour later you're up to you haven't even got past Magen Avraham, and the Chazan's already doing Chazarat Hashatz, and it's nice to do on the high holidays, but afterwards, and the crazy thing is, you barely had any kavanot. You never even connected to the davening, because you were so busy reading the pirush on the words, but in the end, you actually knew exactly what the words meant, but you didn't mean any of them. Sometimes too much comes at the expense of anything. And a parent really needs to know and understand the children and understand the environment that they can create where it's actually going to be a net positive the time that they're sitting at the table. And the kids actually will love the Shabbat table and not loathe it, So one of the things that I've noticed as well is that, when you serve your meal, some families, they put everything on the table and then they start their meal. It's very hard to pace a meal when everything's already there. Everyone's just putting things on the table and then they go, But as an example, if you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then my mother would say, as a little bit of a smile on her face, okay, we're not bringing out the next course until you guys bring out a song, right? And it could be a short song, doesn't matter. It could be a short Dvar Torah, doesn't matter. But you're creating this, almost structure to the table where it's meaningful, but not necessarily long. It doesn't say anywhere that there's a shi'ur of zman that you have to sit at the Shabbat table. And sometimes because the father's remembering what it was like sitting by his grandfather's table where they sang the whole afternoon, for the sake of that memory, he's actually ensuring that his kids will never sing anything because they're forced into doing it. So sometimes there's an element of that. What I found was really interesting also is involving the children. So just as an example, today you have there's Mike's chicken and this, I don't know why it became an item, and there's this kind of chopped liver and this. So we know that one of the things of being mechabed Shabbat is in bringing the matamim to the table. The Sfarim already talk about it. Bringing things that are more shuman, that have more delicious taste, that mechabed Shabbat. So what I found also helps is you let the kids pick up the salads that they want from Uri's. They went and they got those salads, and they got, and then they got this kind of herring, and which kind of kichel do they want? Today's kids are experts in all of the gas, in Gvir culture. You got to know which meat board is the item. So you know what? Forget it. Don't worry about the niggunim and the time, but the minute the kid got involved in choosing that item, that's his moment to shine.
Let them choose. Let them be a part of.
And then when you eat it, do your due diligence and get in it. Oh wow, this is sick. And the kid's like, oh yeah. He feels like he did something good. He brought something beautiful to the table. I also used to ask my kids things that were not only there's the thing. Do you have a Dvar Torah? No. Go get me your briefcase. Here's the Dvar Torah in between the old potato chips and, and half a sandwich. Like, you pull it out and then you read it. And then all of you are giving glances around the table because in that school that your daughter goes to, like, that was a Dvar Torah that her sister said, and her sister before her sister, and the sister before the sister. I don't know if they're makbid on recycling for the Amazon, or if it's just that, that's what it is. But you've heard it 64,000 times, and it's the same story. I always remember this, like, Rabbi Orlovsky used to say a joke about it. They tell a story about about this student that comes in and he tells his Rebbe, did you hear Meir got out of prison? He's like, wow. And a few minutes later, comes in again, Rebbe, did you hear Meir got out of prison? And he's the Rebbe's like, wow. Next one, Rebbe. And afterwards they're like, you knew already. The first guy, yeah, but I didn't want to deprive that Talmud of the joy that he brought the story to me. And Rabbi Orlovsky says, and today someone's like, did you hear the story about yeah, I heard it. We can't even hear the story about listening to the stories, right? So sometimes there's another way to actually bring something out from the kinderlach. I had a minhag in our house that we would ask the kids, what was something that you saw this week that you were grateful for, that you were appreciative for to Hashem? Because really that's what Shabbos is about, that the world creation stops. We recognize Mi bara ele, who created all of this. And now the kids, after 1 week, 2 weeks, where they get away with the easy ones, my family, my father, my house, my bed, whatever, eventually they got to start being more creative. I'll never forget when we started to get to a place where my kids would be like, I appreciate when going outside after it rains because the leaves are all shiny. Like just a level of hakarat hatov to Hashem for something beautiful. Then the other daughter was like, I appreciate that the world spins. What? She says, because that means that you're never looking at the same sky twice. You're bringing out in the kids this ability to notice these things. But because it's at the table and it's not a pre-prepared sheet that they have to read, you're actually addressing the child. And what you said earlier is probably a big part of it too. What song do they want to sing? Is it that new song from whoever? Is it a little bit not exactly? Yeah, you don't love it.
A lot of the songs, my son, sometimes I'm like, I'm not connected, but let him express it. Let him sing that song. My father, I guarantee you, the songs that I brought at that time that was coming out, my father was born in Cairo, you know what I mean? He went to Mir Yeshiva and he was at old school. And I'm trying to sing these new, whatever, like now, boo Shabbos. What's boo? What's Shabbos? What are you doing?
Like you're booing
yeah,
Shabbos.
But what are you booing? What's going on here? Booing Shabbos? No, he smiled and he just listened and let them. So today,
look, I remember we used to have this thing. I mean, it was they would sing Doror Yikra. So there was a whole song that kids would do from camp, and there would be, that's the one we know, right? Right? That's how we say. But then they came over, they're like, Doror Yikra. I'm like, what is happening here? But you know what? Because they were woof-woofing and meow-meowing and moo-mooing, they got all the way through Doror Yikra. And I was like, you know what? Nisht kosher, like we say in Arabic. It's okay. And they did that. We had this other one also. I don't know if you ever, in benching, that we would do. Harachamon hu yanchileinu.
Who composed that?
Yom shkula shabbos u'nucha.
He composed a new one for this project, brand new one. We're doing it Lila Nishma Shia Melowitz, alav shalom. And it's the same style.
So it's got that.
It's got that countryish.
And you know what we did?
Yeah.
So what we do, we divide the table into half. Everyone chooses either their Shabbos or their Menucha. And when you say the word Shabbos or Menucha, you got to get out of your chair.
Shabbos.
So it's literally, we're like, Yom Shekuloi, Shabbos Menucha, Lecha. And the whole table is up and down and this and that. And you know what? And the kids especially, they see this guy and he's like huffing and puffing and they're cracking up. That was what the kids will remember. I used to do in London, we had a room and the couches were in the same room. So we would do Shabbos, Shabbos, Yom Menucha, Shabbos, 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 and then there would be the end of that. I would be like, back to the couch, and the kids will run to the couch.
Make it fun.
And then the end, they get to the couch, and they would be jump, and they're jumping up and down like crazy people, right? But that was Shabbos. Ironically, Shabbos Yom Menucha. They're jumping and running like crazy. But this is their memory of the Shabbat table. And by the way, even when there were no guests, it's not a show.
Right.
You're not a show that you're putting on for the guests. I remember in COVID, my kids came down, no one's there. They're wearing, casual clothes or whatever. No one's there for the beginning of COVID.
Right.
There was one wearing a t-shirt, there was one wearing a t-shirt. I said, they're like, where's the Shabbos clothes? They're like, oh, nobody's coming. We just be comfortable. I said, we don't get dressed up for the guests. We get dressed up for Shabbat Kodesh. We don't sing for the guests. You sing for Shabbat Kodesh, for Shabbat Malketah.
My sister, beautiful. My sisters used to always beg my father some meals not to invite guests because he used to bring home from shul people.
So the girls could sing.
Because the girls could sing. And sometimes when we were alone, the singing went on for hours and hours because the girls got involved. And it was something special in the house, you should know. The memories that we have is really from those moments. So the answer really is each one's home should be, your kids. Find ways to make it interesting. Find ways to make it fun. Because really, that's the memories of the happiness of Yiddishkeit that they're going to take with them. And that's what I grew up. That's the way we try to do that today. Listen, and even if the kids get up, by the way, in the middle, it's okay. Get up, go do your thing. They come back. And the truth is, if you feel it, at the end of the day, if you feel the joy of Shabbos and you really consistently, not once, consistently happy to sing at the table, eventually, I see it, eventually they're like, wow, okay, this is not just a one and done table and my kids, some of them are more musically inclined than others. Some of them, it doesn't matter. They sit, they want to be a part of it. Even the kid I have a kid that's, energy and he's just that. I see, even when he runs out with his friend, comes back. He's always, and you want them always to be that magnet to what you hold dear to you.
I'll give one last tip on the kid going to the couch bit. And it sounds counterintuitive, but one of the ways you get your kid come back to the Shabbat table is to go and sit on the couch. And it sounds crazy because what do you mean? Now the Abba left. No, but the Abba goes, he stretches out, he's like, oh my gosh, that food was amazing, and you stretch out, oh, this is so comfortable. Oh, yes. A minute, two. And they're like, come, let's go back we're going back to dessert. It's very different than when you tell the kid, get back to the table. Right. You pull them by the ear.
It's a great story in a kindergarten in Deal years ago. So I know the teacher told this to my wife. They did a skit they did a skit that each one should do different things. These are 4 or 5-year-olds. So one of the boys is going to make kiddush like he has in his house. So they set up the Shabbat table in this kindergarten, whatever it is, and they have the girls, the boys, and each one is sitting, where they think they sit at their own Shabbat table, and this kid is supposed to make kiddush. So the kid takes the cup, and he's like his father. He comes, he puts it down before he even makes it. Oh, I had a hard week. Oh, was it difficult? And the teachers are laughing, but they're like, and he's like going on and on with the whole week, and he's telling the girl, the little kids, hey, business is tough out there. It's, and they're like, I guess his father, so the father who I know, he said he changed his life because they called him up and he was embarrassed he didn't realize that his kid is he's picking up everything. The kid is sitting there mimicking the father. Oh, this week was the business is tough out there. It's just, and he's like, you know what? He's picking up, that's the chinuch. My son is going to be like me. And this is scary. And he started to improve himself. He started to really focus in. And he said today he's because of that story, and we don't realize that's in every single one of us. The way we imbue Judaism, the way we sing, the way we pick the food, the way we give them, they want to feel like you said. You said such a beautiful thing. Make them feel like $1 million, because they are. They're much more than $1 million. Make them feel that way. Pick a food. pick you don't have to say the Dvar Torah. My son, by the way, also, like you said, don't go to the knapsack. I know you don't want to say what you read. You know what? Me and you, let's read something. That's what you got to figure it out.
By the way, those books that they have, like the crazy halacha questions, oh my gosh, kids love that.
They love it. The answers, they're guessing. You know, this what if from Art Scroll that you know what I mean. You don't know how many conversations that spurred at my table. A lot of technical answers though, this, that, but still, it just. What do you say? What do you say? Get them involved, and it's
also best trick is tell them, oh my God, the craziest story I have for you guys. Forget it. I can't say it. There's nothing that gets her to what?
Teaching them all the tricks in the book.
This is
Guys,
no.
I have the greatest story in the world that just happened.
I don't think I could say
Sorry,
it.
I can't say
Not
it.
everyone here is old enough.
Not everybody's here can handle it.
Come on, you can't do that. You can't do that to us. Yeah, amazing.
Peak the curiosity. Peak the.
Those stories are unbelievable. And what I find also is when you have a kid or even a guest and they're just not interested in the. So what I'll do is I'll pick something random from the news that I know that they really care about. Like, and I'll be like, oh, you guys hear what happened? This guy, he asked to be traded. The kids love sports.
Right.
He's like, yeah, I can't believe it. And he's already telling me, I was just thinking, the guy's been with all these guys. I wonder, how do you think his teammates feel like that? He's just like, wants to, because he's a superstar, and now he wants to go somewhere else. Like, they've been working together, do you think that's right? All of a sudden, the guy is coming out with ma'amorim on chesed and achrayus, right? Because you gave him a place in which it's something that matters to him to talk about. So bringing in those things,
what matters to them?
Yeah, and then that sparks, And I also what I find is awesome is when you can take a piece of one of the zemirot and tell them, like, you see this line over here? It just really reminded me of like this thing that's going on. And then afterwards, I give a whole little item on that piece. And then let's just sing that song now. Now I have that in mind, like when I'm singing it. And then you brought it really to life, also using something that really happened today, or yesterday.
My kids love sports. Yeah. So I always bring the sport, like you said, the idea of something happened, or my son was very competitive. The way he dealt with losing, the way so many different things that you could bring out character. You're right, even at the Shabbos table, it's okay. You sing Joe DiMaggio. Who was Joe DiMaggio? He was a great, and you see that you're piquing the curiosity, and you take that conversation, and it just leads to great, love between a father and son. It's just it's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Rabbi Shlomo, for coming. Bezat Hashem. All the people should be singing their own song, connecting to their children, having the legacy to the next generation of just, beautiful, to remember Yiddishkeit as the happiest, because it is. Hashem wants every Yid. Hashem wants and that's a definite. And He did this Shabbos, He gave us the songs, He gave us the music, He gave us the food. What we have in our generation is unprecedented. Anybody will tell you that the poorest guy with just even a few items is so much richer than what they had. And if we just focus in, like you said, shut off our phones for a minute and just understand that Baruch Hashem is Shabbos. It's just it's ma'adanim, and that will bring us to joy. Thank you so much, Rabbi Shlomo. It's so great to reconnect. It's an excuse also to sit here for a few.
I feel terrible because it's only Monday, and I'm so far away from Shabbat.
Right.
I can't wait anymore.
We can't wait. Hashem is Shabbos. Baruch Hashem is Shabbos. Oh, Baruch Hashem is Shabbos. Shabbos, good Shabbos, Shabbos, good Shabbos.